Go. All right. So thanks for tuning in. This is a customer interview, success story slash testimonial slash whatever you want to call it. But I'm here with Kalen Canada with Maxwell Roofing, and I'm going to just interview Kalen. Just before we get in, I'll just introduce him from what I'm seeing. Maxwell's been a customer for, with me, totally probably over a few years, but with Sales Transformation Group maybe about a year and a half now. And Kalen's been kind of that bright talent on their team, and he's starting to really hit some great numbers, kind of coming from his background in, sports, and then, women's retail at Nordstrom, selling shoes, to selling roofing, and now putting up, some pretty impressive numbers, at least $100,000 a month in service, upwards of a couple hundred on some big months, and selling re-roofing. And it's really been great to see, your development. And so I'm excited to kind of interview you and give owners and sales leaders and, some perspective on what's possible, and, how my programs obviously help with your career development, but more importantly, just what are the components that have helped you be successful so far. So welcome to my little interview, and thanks for hanging out.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So Kalen, give us a little quick bio. Who are you? How long you been in Maxwell? What did you do prior to Maxwell? How'd you get into it? Give us a little bit of a background kind of coming into roofing. It's been a couple of years now. So
I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, 2011 to open the Green Hills Nordstrom store. And at the time I was the assistant manager for Salon Shoes, which is designer shoes. So background was just selling shoes, really, relating to women and why you should buy shoes. I stayed with the company for 3 years. Instead of selling shoes, a customer asked, why don't you start selling houses? So I got my real estate license and got into that. In the meantime, I still wanted to find something that was more Monday through Friday, because I was working with a lot of new construction and builders, which left me a lot more time on my hands, because I'm not actually showing homes and having to deal with that part of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And started reaching out to companies looking for kind of a Monday through Friday thing, account management, and see what that would be like. And started with Maxwell Roofing in December of 2017.
Wow.
And
not even 2 years yet.
No,
wow.
Not even 2 years yet. So still learning, still, there's always something new. And I'm finding that out, and working with you, just different sales approach has been helpful as well.
Awesome. So you came in, tell us a little bit about why you joined Maxwell, why you feel like you've had success starting out, and, why you think you're doing well. I mean, obviously, other than the fact that you could say I'm a winner, it's just how I am. I think that's a given, that the cream will rise to the top. But give us a sense of, Kalen, of why you chose Maxwell, and what Kathleen's like working with her, and, why you've kind of, in a year and a half had really nice success out of the gate.
Well, one reason I chose Maxwell is it's a family-run company, which Nordstrom was as well. And so obviously this is on a much smaller scale. So you got to meet Kathleen Maxwell, David Maxwell, as long as their dad, who's president owner, John Maxwell, within a couple interviews. So that I thought was cool. I think their approach to the industry, I liked how they're, it's not about cheapest price here. We want to do quality work. Remember for your service, the customer service side, as well as, techs going out to perform well is obviously very important.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of drew me to the company. Once I've been with the company, it's been I wouldn't say it's not relaxed, but at least they at least give you the tools to go out and perform. I obviously inherited a lot of accounts that I have to still manage and grow, and then bring in new customers as well, which is a constant challenge, but it's what I like. And so the support is there. Working with you has been completely different, mind changing, because when I got into this business, I wasn't thinking the way you're supposed to think now. Qualifying customer was, how much can you relate to this person almost? How much does this person gotta like me to maybe buy something from me? And so a different approach now and has been beneficial. But also I think just, I don't know how to say, to try to command a room or meet with the customer and somewhat relate, if not consult them enough to know what you're talking about and they trust you.
Mm-hmm.
It's always obviously been the challenge, but that's been obviously the end goal, is to become their consultant. So
right. So as you work toward that, what are some things you kind of had to fire in your mind? And then, what have you kind of had to hire in your mind in terms of just like adopting a new way of doing things? Like, what have been some of the biggest changes for you? Because what we're talking about is like a mindset shift from, selling retail to selling, real estate, which is a very feature benefit oriented, type of sale, very, right. So now you're talking about like comprehensive systems and solutions and problems. And it's like a different type of conversation, but you're starting to see some pretty big dollar figures you never sold before, like a couple $100,000 projects or a lot of volume. So give me a sense of like, since working with me and coming out of and Maxwell and coming out of where you were, what have you had to fire in terms of thought processes, and what have you had to really hire?
The notion of being liked, because sometimes that does not matter. But understanding being solution-based and solving the issue, understanding a budget. Like, to me, it's like, if you need something, you just fix it, buy it and fix it. Well, now you're dealing with multiple, they may have a hard budget, and there's also 3 other people involved in this, transaction, essentially. Like, why are they going to go with you versus someone else?
Right.
Something now that's different is like, you can turn down work now. This isn't the right fit, or, we're not the right person. And versus maybe when I got hired, it's like, you want to run out to everything right away. You can solve everything. And sometimes you got to maybe step back and say, we still may not be the right fit for somebody. And so maybe refer them and still get business that way. And for me, is just, I try to go out on as many jobs as possible, because I think I'm always still learning. At least I can pick up on, if we did something right here, can we apply it to this new situation? So,
yeah. So has that helped you be more efficient when you've been able to know that you could turn down, an opportunity and not just have to bid everything, and try to fix every project?
I think so. And also, it saves you time. What projects actually make sense versus which don't. Another thing is, as we grow, I can't rely maybe on my estimator all the time, because we are growing. So I've been trying to go out and look at jobs personally and to bring back enough information and qualify the customer, look at the problem, kind of have maybe my own solution in mind, however, run that by the estimator. And I think it's been helpful for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you're not chasing your tail, so to speak. You feel you feel like you're in command of your week and of your day and of your month. So you feel like you're in command of what you're doing.
Yeah. The industry is it can be challenging, because there is so much time, needed for maybe before you can get the solution or get in front of the customer again. And so trying to not necessarily speed that up, but go through this process a little quicker, and still qualify the customer well. And also, it's not, selling, going back to selling shoes. I can meet the person, I ring them up, I do everything, the whole transaction. This, you got to rely on, your estimator, your team. If we need to do this, we need to do that. And so you got to rely on other people. Rely on them. So
you're looking at your, team, how, when you have a team and the way you're doing it with current account management and finding new business, and still getting support estimating. What kind of numbers are you averaging more or less with your closing rate, your sales cycle, and your sales? I mean, is your sales cycle, I don't know if you know it off the top for you, but maybe with the team, I think your team definitely pays attention to that. Anything, what are those looking like now? Because I think a lot of people don't really know what's possible, and they're like, no way somebody can do that because they're small, or maybe they're just not efficient, like you're talking about, because they don't have a good sales approach, and you don't have the right reinforcement. So what are some of those numbers that you're like kind of averaging right now?
I think our sales cycle at one point, I think, was about 18 days for service.
Okay.
But it fluctuates. You might have someone that something's approved that's been sitting for a little while. So that will, hinder that. But typically 18 to 25 days or so. And it obviously varies project to project. Mm-hmm. Getting a timeline when you're meeting with the customer obviously is crucial. I think when you can perform the actual job, because some people want it right away. Some people are like, yeah, just give me something, and it takes them a month or two to figure that out. So asking these questions up front helps the customer, but also helps us in operations.
Right. Absolutely. And then do you feel like in terms of your ability to forecast, like I know about a year ago we started a forecast and try to see how good are we at that. How do you feel like you're coming along with being able to say, all right, I'm going to do this much this month and actually do it? And yeah, just elaborate or share what your thoughts are there and any additional, insights there.
I think forecasting is a constant challenge, and it's because you have to rely on so many other people. I think it'd be easier if it was like, hey, I'm going to go out and do this, get the customer. Like, I can forecast all I want, but if my estimator is, for a week, that throws my forecast off.
I know you guys are working on that, and you're even taking some of your own initiative, but
it's a challenge. But I mean, you relatively do you have a good feeling about what's going to close? Yes. I think when I work with this customer, it's usually 2 weeks. Or I work with this customer, hey, they're a month out. So you kind of you obviously go off of that. So I think it's getting better. But it could be also just internal that, hey, we get to 3 or 4 jobs that I was counting on. So.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I noticed about you that I think is really cool is that your level of focus, I think, has become pretty notable, like at least from my angle where, we had our live event in Breckenridge, we were competing for like the best role play with other companies. You've really made some adjustments. Like I think personally, you just seem like you've really focused and you want this to be successful. Like, can you share a little bit about why, and does your background playing basketball have anything to do with that? Give me does it not? Is it not related at all? But kind of tell me and anybody who watches about kind of you as a salesperson, your focus level and how you're maintaining focus, because you're performing, you're not just order taking, you're doing hard stuff. Like you're asking hard questions, you're dealing with complicated scenarios, you're getting with, different, decision-making criteria that you got to work around. There's a lot of different variables that isn't just like, going to Nordstrom, a lady comes in, you show her some shoes, you try to tell her it looks great on her, or maybe she should look at this and she brings it up. Like this is a lot more complicated. So, tell me or anybody watching kind of how your focus is, how you're focusing, and what that looks like and why you're focusing really well.
Where I begin. For me, it's success driven. I think Maxwell has given me a great opportunity, and I want to give everything back to them. So that's one part of it. A loyalty and this type of opportunity. I think I'm hardworking. Reading books motivates me. Other people are motivated by different things, but certain books just motivate me to be better, to stay focused on the task at hand. Another thing is buy into what we're doing. If you're not bought into it, it's going to be harder to sell, or it's going to be harder to, what you're teaching us. If I throw it out the window, it's not doing anything for me. So you got to buy into this and try it. And it's been successful. Another thing is, in this industry, a lot of people don't look like me. And so when I got into this, I had a almost not uneasy, but I was nervous to go out and meet customers or building owners, and property managers I didn't have a problem with because they're mostly women. But
yeah,
people, it was, I felt there may be a challenge for me to show up and try to tell them what they need, essentially.
Has that been a challenge for you? Have you noticed it is, or was it more in your head, or was it really?
It was more in my head. I think a lot of it was in my head. Now I'm confident no matter who I talk to, it doesn't matter. I'm here to help solve a problem for you. And if you want to listen or hear me out or get to know each other to find out if we can help you, then that's why I'm here, and go for it. And so,
right now you're like a 6'4" black dude. Looks like you just came from a basketball program.
Exactly.
And you're talking about how you're going to fix my roof, or like you asked me about my building. So yeah, in your mind, you're like, wow, but you got the shirt on, and now your confidence level's there, and you've overcome that. I think that's really cool for anybody who's like, a woman, or anybody who feels like they're, Nashville's different. Like I live in South Florida. It's a huge melting pot. But yeah. Nashville's like totally conservative. It's like, it's totally like, it's country still. It's a city, but there are those stereotypes. And so, kudos for you to overcome that in like a real blue collar industry and kind of break the mold, because, it doesn't matter what race you are, even what gender you are, whatever, even what sex you are, who cares? You're there to help people. And you're, that's cool that you kind of overcame that. And you stepped into something a little uncomfortable, dealing with a facility manager who's been in that place for 20 years or something versus like, exactly. Versus like, what's her friggin' name? I was going to say versus like the Carrie Underwood coming and buying some shoes from you, right?
Exactly. Like it's a different environment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you definitely adapted well.
Also hard work, and it's either up to you if you want to go out and get it or not. I mean, it's really, it's kind of a simple thing, and a lot of people have reservations about it. And there are days where I'm like, if you don't want to make that call or whatever it is, I mean, you go through that. But that's where I think when I go back and I read my book or whatever I'm reading, there's something that motivates you and say, okay, you can overcome that, or you can go do this. And so you got to have something more that drives you, I guess.
Yeah. And what is that for you?
Honestly, to be just success driven, financially stable. Maxwell Roofing, like I said, is giving me an opportunity, and I don't want to let them down.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm real proud of how you're doing, man. You're really crushing it, and you're shining. And I think you're only like, you're just getting going. Like, I think you have a huge upside, long-term in this industry. And, you're already doing really well with their support, their investment into training, technology, into salary, and, you and taking a chance on somebody, but yet, you took a chance on them too, right? Because it's not just about them with you, but you with them. Like, you're a valuable person, you're adding value to wherever you go, and you're doing it here. So I'm really glad to see this develop, because, you guys were one of the first companies to start working with me when I started. So it's really kind of important that you guys are doing well, at least for me. Really happy to see that. So a couple questions I would say is, to finish up here. Let's pretend an owner is considering, hiring me and buying my, access to my program and my training. So let's pretend they're looking at that. What would you say to them? And then I have maybe another question after that, and then we'll wrap it up. So what would you say to an owner who's, in a roofing or some kind of a trade industry, and, maybe they're looking at my stuff, or they never really invested in their people before, like that, and they're just kind of like unsure. So maybe share, what would you say to somebody like that?
The first thing is the main thing, what you just ended with, is invest in your people. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be out there, face of the company, whether new business, current business. I think if you invest in your people and kind of show them a new approach or new way, then they put their own spin and personality on it. I think it's going to benefit everyone. Your industry, your sales technique is perfect for this industry, because even when I came into this, you see the basis now. Like, you can actually see the process versus coming in and you go from like, hey, I'm here. What do you need? Oh, that, okay. And then let me just put that on paper without any of the steps in there. And so, and when you're dealing with budget numbers, you're dealing with multiple bids. If you're not the cheapest person out there, why is this person going to buy from you? And so you need to have a little bit of a different niche, a little quality. Like, I'm going to go with this guy because, no one else is doing what they're doing. And so it's in a lot of, and it's the tough thing is getting, these other companies, these other people to actually like think like that. But I think it's coming around. And so I think if you're an owner of a company like, roofing company, it's just investing in your people and understanding there is a process to this. And it's not just, hey, you have a problem, let me just put something on paper and then we move on. So
right. Yeah.
You may get a job or two there, but I think it's for the long run, there's nothing else there, versus building on this and growing on that, expanding with your customer.
Awesome. Cool. So the results are pretty good. I think you're at somewhere in averaging 100, maybe up to 200, $250,000 a month on some months in service alone. And now you're starting to knock down re-roofs. Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're in a big market and you've got a brand, but still you got to go do it. I mean, they're buying from you, right? So that's really great. Some people, they don't even do that for their entire company, over the year. So, there's hope for people who want to do this. So secondly, last question, or one of the last questions, I think, why should somebody get into this industry? Because I love this industry. I think it's a great opportunity. And I think it's pretty awesome what a lot of companies are doing out there, and, how really good talent, when they come in here, they do well, because you're not like going to Silicon Valley trying to compete against the best in the world. You're able to kind of shine better, because this industry hasn't technically been sexy or something that like everybody wants to go be in this industry. But like, why would somebody like a sales guy or somebody who is thinking about selling for a contracting company, why should they consider jumping in to this space? Would they be crazy too, or would it be good for them too? And if they did, why should they?
I mean, it's personal level, but for me, it's you don't have to care about the roof. You got to care about the people. You got to care about the process. And so whatever you're selling, you're selling to a person or owner or, whatever it is. So if you care about that enough, it doesn't matter what you're selling. So for me, I care about that stuff. And I think it's almost like it's a challenge, hey, this person's got an issue. Let me see if I can solve it. And once I do, hooray, we did it, kind of thing. And so
you're constantly helping people in this industry, right? Like it's a huge
I mean, like you said, it's not sexy. Sometimes, I mean, you're on roofs sometimes, whatever, but it doesn't have to be sexy. It can still be beneficial and successful for you, for the company, and then also for the customer. But you got to also love the process. And if you love the process and this approach and try to master it, knock on wood, you don't have to go anywhere, but you can expand to other companies with this. Because a lot of people may not be thinking like this in any job. And so I think it's just kind of a cool technique to learn this, but then apply it to this industry because it's perfect for it.
Right. Yeah. So, if you're somebody who's thinking, I got to hire roofers to sell for me to grow my business, you don't.
No.
But like what they've done is they've made they made it relevant. They've given you tools. They've given you a plan for you to grow. They made it about the customer. There's a lot of variables that make it successful, making you successful, along with your own, obvious your own contribution. But there's a lot of good people out there who want to do well in this industry. They can really do well with the right leadership, with a customer-oriented company, with the right tools, and care about people, both on the employee side and the customer side. And there's a lot of good companies and owners who would say that stuff, but then doing it's different. And your folks at Maxwell have really done it. I'm really it's just so cool to be like women's shoe salesman, account manager, killing it at a roofer company. I just love that story, and just proud to see how well you're doing there, and how well the company's doing there. And I hope that it continues that way for a long time, and you guys keep crushing it. But you guys are growing. You've added some team members to try to give you some competition. So
yes.
I hope that's making you better.
And she's a female, so she's been doing this. She's from New York, and she kills it as well. So
yeah, that's
competition.
You guys are a good team. So yeah. So anyhow, glad you can hang out with me for a little bit, for the viewers to get some encouragement, to see some proof, not only in my program, but just, how you can think outside the box as a roofing company, and how people can have a lot of success. Because at the end of the day, people want to do well, and they want to feed their families. They want to leave a legacy or whatever they're motivated by. And I think we all agree that improving your people's skill set, your mindset, your talent, given better systems, you're gonna grow, and you're gonna be able to get to where you want to be faster. And I'm glad to see you kind of really adopting everything and seeing results. So thanks again, Kalen, Canada, Maxwell Roofing out of Nashville. Yeah, glad to hang out. So, all right, that's it.
Thank you, sir.